Get started here in just a second. Shawn is coming. Shawn Mayo is coming. So I hope that the summit has been helpful to many of you. I hope it's been a blessing. I hope that you found the content valuable, and I hope that you found it beneficial. Hopefully it's given you some ideas on different adjustments if you've been selling for a while that you can make in your business right now that might help you throughout the rest of the year. And if you haven't been selling for a while, if you're new to e-commerce, then hopefully it gives you some perspective that you can come back to. If you didn't get your all access pass, I would just recommend getting that. And let me see. Shawn is going to be here shortly. Nothing like technical fun. Absolutely. The most fun ever. So today we're going to talk about sourcing, which is going to be fun. So get a pen and paper because he's joining us. I had to reboot before as well. So, okay. So while we're waiting for him, okay, so in the chat, if you guys want to type one takeaway that you, just one takeaway, doesn't matter the speaker, it could be random, one takeaway from this summit. I'm sorry, my hairs, it grows, it has its own zip code. This will all be edited out. But what is one takeaway that you've learned from this summit? Just type it in the chat. Anyone? We're waiting on Shawn to join us, so. All right, I'm waiting for some takeaways. There's a little chat window. If you can't see it, it should be at like at the bottom of your screen or something, and you just type in the chat just one thing that you've learned from this summit that you found was helpful in your business, or one thing that was helpful and maybe in your personal life, or one thing that you plan on doing differently. Can you guys hear me? Oh, more options than I ever knew for e-commerce. Please don't let that overwhelm you, and please don't let that paralyze you. Pick a method and a technique and run with it. Don't let that paralyze you. Yes, there are a lot of options. Outsourcing the stuff that you don't like, I'd agree. I think that is a good, like, just think about the value of your time. Definitely. Your time is more valuable than you probably thought of, especially as a business owner. Print on demand is closer than I have ever hoped for. I'd agree. Print on demand is definitely a viable option. You know, the great thing about print on demand, no touching inventory. Well, 99% of the time, there's no touching inventory. Oh, Shawn's with us. And you don't have to store anything, you don't have to touch it, but you do want to get samples. I would recommend that. All right, so let me see if I can join this to the Facebook group. Always my challenge. Always. Let's see. Today, it is really sort of looking like it wants to cooperate. I don't know what this is. I'm not going to jinx it. It's connecting, maybe. Thinking about it. Okay. You're going to say I spoke too soon. All right, Shawn. Okay, I think we're live in the room. Still doing something. Yeah. Still doing something. And hard to tell. I'm still spinning over here. Okay, I think I'm live. Maybe?
It's live.
All right. Awesome. All right, I have to remember not to make faces. Oh, and it helped me decide which strategy to pursue first. That was a great one. Yes. So thank you all for sharing your feedback thus far. Hi, my name is Nicole Whitlock, and I'm with the eCom Seller Summit. And today's speaker is Shawn Mayo. Shawn is going to be sharing with us some great information. I don't know if he's going to do a presentation, but I am glad that he is part of the summit and he has a lot of great value that he's going to bring. And we're going to talk about sourcing. So, Shawn, I'll let you have the floor.
Super excited to be here. Wow, what an awesome, awesome summit it's been so far. A lot of great information. So yeah, we're going to talk about wholesale sourcing. So, you know, hopefully if you're an Amazon seller, and even if you're not an Amazon seller, there's going to be, you know, a lot of great stuff. We work with, you know, a ton of sellers, and obviously, you know, brands, distributors, and, you know, a lot of people get confused about the differences, but we're going to cover all of that. So if you're doing wholesale, or, you know, if you want to start doing wholesale, there's going to be a great place to be. And there's a lot of, you know, what we might call bad information, you know, out there. So you know, you really have to be selective in, you know, the most important thing, especially, I want to say especially in this summit, but, you know, because I personally know most of, you know, the participants. So, but you need to, you know, be very careful about, you know, who you follow, and make sure that, you know, you believe and have the same values that all of those people do. Because, you know, if you're doing something wrong in maybe retail or online arbitrage, well, I mean, you might lose 50 bucks, but if you make some bad deals in wholesale, I mean, it could be really disastrous to your business. So, you know, always make sure that, you know, you have the same, let's say, ethical beliefs that, you know, those people you follow do. Because, you know, you're really buying the beliefs of the people that you follow. You know, because if somebody doesn't know, you know, really anything that, you know, I offer to my followers, the vast majority of them, you know, are going to buy. You know, so we're very selective in who we affiliate ourselves with, and, you know, the ethics of, you know, our business are, you know, are really the most important thing. You know, my grandfather always told me that, you know, you're only as good as your name, and if you tarnish your name, then, you know, your business is going to be, you know, destroyed. And you know, that's so much more true now that the internet exists. Because, you know, if you lead some people astray, then it's really going to be, you know, you can't recover from that anymore. Because, you know, once you have a bad name, you know, now that everybody knows everything, it's really going to change things. And I don't want you to think that, you know, a lot of people aren't out there trying to give you bad information, but with Amazon now, you know, things are changing, you know, almost every day. And especially with distributors and manufacturers that we deal with, we really don't push our own clients to, and especially ourselves, we don't buy from distributors unless there's no other option. So, you know, a lot of people tell you, you know, as an example, a lot of people are you know, pushing people on YouTube and in training courses to buy from distributors, authorized distributors who may buy from the source. And you do get access to thousands of brands, but, you know, or at least thousands of products, and, you know, sometimes hundreds of different brands. So you think, oh, well, this company sells 100,000 different products. You know, it's a great place to buy from. But in reality, it's not. Because, you know, not only do some newer sellers get overwhelmed, but you're basically buying from a middleman. It's like buying from Amazon. You know, and especially with wholesale, you should always go directly to the source. Almost every company, you know, big or small, you know, with a few exceptions, are going to sell to you directly. You know, even as an Amazon seller, you know, there's a lot of myths out there that, you know, you have to be a huge brand, you have to buy truckloads of products and minimum order quantities of tens of thousands of dollars. But that, you know, that's really not true. There are some brands like Lego that have a $25,000 monthly order, and, you know, some other ridiculous rules that they have. But for the most part, even, you know, as an example, Mattel is a great brand, and we have a free training video on how to open a Mattel account. They only require you to buy $5,000 a year, and they actually represent 77 different brands. So, you know, things like obviously Mattel, but they, you know, they're also Hot Wheels and Lego and you know,
Barbie.
so many brands that Barbie. You know,
Yeah.
there's so many huge brands, and you could just buy a handful of products and spend $5,000. But I think you only need to spend $500 in a single order and $5,000 a year, which you know, I mean, I say it's nothing, and I know, you know, if you're just starting out, that's a lot of money. But you know, when you look at the thousands of products available, it really isn't. And they do have some other rules, but they will take you as an Amazon seller if you have things like an online store. And I'm just using that as an example, but they're one of the biggest toy stores, you know, in the world, or toy manufacturers or brands. And they have, you know, a very low barrier to entry, and that's most companies. So, you know, we always teach our clients that, you know, you should go directly to the brand, and we don't go through distributors unless they require you to. And, you know, one of the other biggest toy brands is Hasbro, and they don't sell direct, but they will tell you, you know, we have you can contact them, anybody can, and they'll give you a list of their authorized distributors, which are, you know, segmented for each portion of the country. So you're in the Northeast, they have a specific one that you deal with. And, you know, so it makes things so, you know, it makes things a lot easier. All you're doing by going through distributors is, you know, giving somebody else part of your profits. You know, it's a middleman. You know, they have to pay to ship to them. They're going to charge you to ship to you, of course, but and then they have to, you know, pay for their staff and pay for warehousing and the time it's stored there and all that other stuff. So all you're doing is giving somebody else to do literally nothing for you. You know, so this is, you know, it's a huge misconception with sellers. And the biggest thing that we've learned is that brands don't like selling to Amazon sellers. And there's some very specific reasons. And once you learn how to alleviate those issues for the brand, then, you know, there's not really an issue. For us, most brands don't even ask us if we sell on Amazon, because we give them all the information they want and they need. And we're going to go over that. I'm going to show you exactly how we do it today. I'm not just here for an advertisement, but, you know, the issues that, you know, I always try and look at the big picture. You know, we have a big team, and, you know, tons of VAs and employees, and, you know, so I'm able to kind of take all the problems, you know, away. You know, I don't have to do the work. I can look at the big picture. And, you know, we figured out by, you know, talking to all the brands that we deal with, and obviously we talk to more sellers than most people do. And, you know, we found what the problem was. And, you know, after watching thousands of videos on doing wholesale, every brand would, every person would tell you to go to the brand. You know, and I'm sure anybody who's tried to do wholesale and is doing wholesale has seen this. You go to the brand, you either ask them for a list, or you open an account with them. You go through that whole process, send them paperwork, go through 20 emails back and forth. And then as soon as you get an account open, you ask for a list of what they have, and you run that in some tool, Scan, Power, Evaluate, or Tactical Arbitrage, or one of those. And you see what's worth buying, and you move on to the next one, or you hire, you know, 2 or 3 VAs, and that's all they do is open accounts all day long. But, you know, when we stepped back from it and we said, well, why don't these companies like selling to people when they hear they're an Amazon seller? You know, we've seen, you know, the same trend. You know, I say, well, what exactly do you do when you open an account? You know, and I would ask sellers that we worked with, you know, 99% of them, they say won't open an account. So, you know, well, we open an account, we go through the process, and then we, you know, ask them for a list, and, you know, then you move on to the next one. So, you know, what's happening with the brands, and a lot of brands have verified this for me now, they said that they had to hire more staff to open accounts for Amazon sellers who literally never bought anything from them. So some of these brands are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars now. I mean, you hire, even a basic person full time, you're going to pay $30,000 to $50,000 a year. And
Yeah.
some, if it's a bigger brand, they may have hundreds or thousands of companies coming to them a month. There's about 5 million third-party Amazon sellers now that are active on the platform. So, thousands of them for a bigger brand like Mattel or Hasbro or Lego, wouldn't be a lot. So what's happened is they have to hire somebody, they go through the process. It's a lot of time, money, paperwork, on the brand side to open these accounts. And then as soon as they give them a list, they process it, they say, oh, I want to see 50%. And, a lot of these brands have a lot of great stuff, but some of it may not be listed on Amazon. And when you have 100 lists waiting behind it, you're processing it and moving on. And, this has turned into a huge issue for these brands, and all it's doing is costing them money. So now when you go to them, they say, oh, well, you are an Amazon seller. We're not selling to Amazon sellers. And that, that's already saved them, at least tens of thousands of dollars a year.
And let me ask you a question just to piggyback off of that. We did have one question in the group. I'll let you read that. But my question is, what I've found sometimes, not all the time, is on small occasions, the brand is not interested in selling to Amazon sellers because there's some level of inconsistency. They lowball the price, they put up the listing has bad data on it or bad information, bad descriptions, bad pictures, whatever it happens to be. Those types of things where you have inexperienced sellers putting up listings and not putting them up well, putting them up right, or not pricing it right. Is that some of the common issues that you've heard too, or no?
Sometimes that's usually with, smaller brands, and, our business, we deal with a lot of the bigger brands, and a lot, we're heavy in toys and groceries. So, we deal with a lot of the, the larger brands that's, already worked itself out, because, there's a lot of people trying to sell it. And, we do help our clients, you go to those brands and you tell them, that, if they're willing to sign an exclusive deal with you, that you will optimize all of their listings, you'll fix the pictures and, fix the descriptions and so on, and adhere to MAP pricing. In the past, we've actually, by doing that, ourselves, we've taken some business away from Amazon, because the reality is that brands do not like dealing with Amazon. Amazon's really a big pain to deal with, because I've actually dealt with quite a few brands who had to deal with them. And if they don't sell a certain amount, they have a contract where they can return everything to you, or return what's unsold after so long. So they're constantly buying products. They'll make daily orders to companies where they're buying 1 of these, 2 of these, 4 of these, and then do that every day. And then, on top of that, they're returning stuff that don't sell, and they force the distributor or the brand to pay for that. So it's a huge hassle dealing with Amazon. Especially with those things. And the smaller the brand, the harder it is, because if you're a big tool brand, like Makita or Ryobi, or or a big grocery brand, or toys, or whatever the category is, it may not be a big deal to be dealing with that. But if you're a small brand having to deal with ordering 1s and 2s of products where you can sell cases and pallets to other sellers, then as soon as they get a better option, they choose not to sell directly to Amazon.
Okay.
If you give that to them, if you say, hey, I'll sign a contract that, saying, yes, I'm an Amazon seller, this is my listing so you can monitor it, and here's where we're at, and I'll stick to your MAP pricing, and you give me an exclusive and don't sell to any other Amazon sellers, then we can provide that consistency that you're looking for on the marketplace. And some that's very important to them, and some just want to sell their product. And there's so much product out there. You know, we have our own software that we monitor, you know, and just as an example, there's over 30,000 brands that have recently sold in the top 100,000 just in toys in the last year. So there is, you know, there's a ton of stuff. And we feel like, you know, if a brand doesn't want to deal with us, we just move on to the next one because there's just so much opportunity out there. You know, so we don't waste our time dealing with companies who don't want to deal with us. You know, we'll give them that opportunity. We'll, you know, we will offer, you know, the opportunities that, you know, that our company can provide them to help grow their brand, you know, especially on Amazon. But, you know, I'm not going to fight with them, you know, and beg them to allow me to sell their products. But on the other hand, if you're, you know, if you're really motivated and really want to sell a brand, you know, there's no, you know, I've never had a company where if I'm, you know, if I want it bad enough that I can't go out and get it. You know, if nothing else, you know, you can always buy a $200 plane ticket and go to wherever they're at. And, you know, no brand is going to say, no, I'm not going to let you give me your money if you're looking at them face to face.
There you go.
I know sellers who have done that, and, you know, it works surprisingly well.
All right, that was a golden nugget if you're taking notes. All right, back on your statement about Mattel, somebody was asking about the $5,000 per year, all at once or spread out during the year.
Well, right, as I think that was before I expand on that, but yeah, it's they have a $5,000 per year minimum. So basically, if you don't buy $5,000 in a year, they'll just close your account, you know, the next year. But I believe it's only $500 per order that you have to spend. So if they see you haven't spent the $5,000 in a year, they're going to close your account. But you know, I mean, we sell for them, so you know, I know the massive, you know, amount of products that are in their catalog. I don't, you know, we can spend $5,000 on one product. You know, they have a lot of high-end toys, stuff that sells for $100, stuff that sells for $10 or $2, you know. So, you know, wherever you're at, it's not hard to spend money there, especially with, you know, I mean, every good toy brand you can imagine, you know, is from Mattel or Hasbro, basically. But most of them are from Mattel. Like all the iconic brands, you know, Barbie and Hot Wheels and Star Wars and most of Disney, all that is distributed directly by them.
Yep. All right. Okay. So I didn't know if you want to address that question or not.
Yeah. I mean, we already addressed the first one from Juanita. What do you tell them if they won't sell to Amazon sellers? You know, most of the time we're just going to move on because there's so many options. But as I said in the past, we have, you know, we've offered those reasons. And, you know, usually it's just as simple as just saying why. You know, why, you know, why don't you want to sell to Amazon sellers? And usually you can get around those issues. You know, and even if, you know, they absolutely won't, then, you know, then okay, I mean, you just move on, you know, or we do at least, but, you know, there's a lot of things. And then as for selling brands like Lego on Amazon, you know, either you really can't get an account now, and there's a lot of issues with, the issues with Lego are, it's just not compatible with Amazon sellers. So if you sold Lego before all the brand gating happened a couple of years ago, then you can continue to sell it. I mean, we were kind of grandfathered in, and we sell quite a bit of Lego. But if you were try and open a legitimate account with Lego now, you have to have a brick and mortar store, which I mean, obviously that's not feasible for a lot of you. We're actually in the middle of opening a brick and mortar toy store.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we can get more accounts. And it's like in a, you know, we specifically picked the area, you know, mostly so we can get this. So it's like in a historic area. The building that we're running is on it's on the National Registry of Historic Sites, and it was built in 1906. It's like an old brick building, you know, so everything that, you know, a toy store, you know, people would want, you know, to them to be selling their toys. But if you try to open an account with Lego, You have to have a brick and mortar store for one. You have to buy $25,000 a month, which I mentioned earlier. And they only give you a 15% discount off a retail price. Now, Amazon in toys charges you 15% on top of their, pick and pack and shipping fees and all that other stuff. So, it would never work even if you could get that account, to just strictly sell that stuff on Amazon. But there's so many options. There's so, as I said, in the last year, we've tracked over 33,000 brands, that have sold under 100,000 in rank, and that's just in the last year, and just in toys. So there's a ton of options out there. I wouldn't, stick to trying to just sell those big brands, especially when you're starting out. But what we've done and the way we now open accounts, we basically drafted a letter, and even if you can open an account with most brands by doing one of three things. You can, obviously you can call, you can send them an email, or some of the bigger brands have a web form. So even if they have a web form, we send this letter, and we split tested it, and we put a lot of work into it, but it basically says that, most brands want to see three things to open an account, whether they tell you this or not. They want you to have what's called, they want to see, intent of, basically not sending them a form letter, which is what you're going to do. You're going to send them a form letter, but what we do is we tell them, hey, we've researched your brand and we're ready to open an account. What we say in there is that we're the purchasing manager for the company, and we've been authorized to open an account and, and file a PO, which is a purchase order, immediately. And then the next thing we do is we tell them that we have, we've already researched their company, and, here's a list of the products that we're interested in buying. And we send them a list. I attach a CSV file, and all it has is a list. Usually it has the titles from Amazon, the item titles, and the UPC codes. So, I mean, it's super easy for us.
I lost the sound. There we go. You're back.
So I don't know where it cut off at, but so we send them that letter, so that they know that we know who their company is. We're ready to make an order immediately, and we've obviously researched their brand because we know exactly the products we want, and we have UPCs and we have titles of what they are. And the only thing, basically the only thing we need is pricing. So the last thing we say is that we need pricing. The only thing we need to know is pricing, so we can let them know how many of each one we want. So, Amazon very rarely even comes into this equation. So when they see this, they say, hey, these people know who we are. They're not asking for a list of our products. They gave us a list of our products. They're not, asking, for some list to process and then ignore us. They know the lingo. They know what they're asking for. It's not just some guy trying to buy some stuff. He mentioned a purchase order, and they're not going down a checklist, but they're, when they read this, they're saying this in their head, this guy knows what he wants. He just needs pricing. We send them a copy, also attached. So we send them the letter, we send them the CSV of the products we want, and we send them a copy of our sales tax ID or reseller's permit or whatever you call it in your state. So there's no, and if you open an account, you go through the stuff and then they send you an email, if they're willing to even open it. Well, we need a copy of your reseller's permit and, and all this stuff. We don't give them the option of asking us any questions. Any question they, think about if you've ever tried to open a wholesale account, any question that they've ever asked you, and every question they've asked you, you need to answer that when you contact them. So there's no time there's no question in their mind that you know exactly what you want. You know, you want to be the guy who's in their head has done this 1,000 times. And so you know exactly what they want. It's already in that letter. You know, there's no, you know, even thought that, oh, this guy might be an Amazon seller, you know, and he just wants a list, you know. The issue isn't is if you're an Amazon seller. It's, you know, how expensive is this going to cost us to deal with this person compared to what we're going to get out of it as a company. And, you know, I've never lied to a brand and said, oh, no, I'm not an Amazon seller, because they're going to figure that out. You know,
Yeah.
they're going to realize that, you know, the one guy who's selling, you know, 1,000 of these a day is the guy we're selling 1,000 of these a day to, you know. So there's no point in lying. There's no point in putting all that work in just to get your account closed because, you know, oh, you never told us you were an Amazon seller, or you lied about being an Amazon seller. So, you know, we don't give them any reason to, you know, to ask us if we're an Amazon seller, because, you know, in reality, it doesn't matter if we're Amazon sellers. You know, all that matters is if we're going to be a good customer and we're not going to do anything that's going to damage their brand. Because again, you know, as I started with, your name is everything. And for a company, their company name is everything. And you know, if they're selling $100 products and they don't sell in the stores and they go in clearance, and, you know, people are racing to the bottom and selling them for $10 on Amazon because they got to pay their credit card bill, then, you know, they feel like their brand is being damaged. And that's the other reason that that brands don't want to sell to Amazon sellers, because they see so much fluctuation in the market. People fight prices. You know, if it's sold at Walmart and Target, it's like, you know, 2 cents different in price all the time. But on Amazon, you know, even if they look at their competition, they're going to see all of that same stuff is, you know, it works completely different on Amazon, obviously. But if you're willing to, you know, show them those things, I mean, we very rarely even get asked if we're Amazon sellers. And if they do, we tell them, you know, that Amazon's one of the marketplaces we sell on, because that's completely the truth. We have, you know, we have a web store. We're soon going to have a retail store, and we do sell on Amazon as well. You know, so when you can do all that, when you know, just like in any kind of selling, you have to think about it as you're selling your business. You know, the idea of your business to these brands or manufacturers. So when you can do that without them having any negative questions towards you, then you're gonna do well. And, you know, obviously some companies are not going to answer you. Some, you know, some are always going to say no. But for us, with what we've done, you know, it's in the high 90 percentile. And another reason why is because you know, I do have dozens of VAs that work for me, but, you know, I don't have any that, you know, nowhere in my business model do we have we made a choice to contact hundreds of wholesale companies. You know, we research them. We look at all or most of the products they're selling on Amazon. We look at the kind of products they have available, and we make an informed decision if that's a brand we want to do business with. And if it is, we pursue them to open an account. You know, the idea of, you know, bulk opening, you know, or applying for accounts, because most people aren't opening them the way that they apply, you know, it doesn't work anymore. You know, things are constantly changing on Amazon, you know, as we've seen with, you know, Vendor Central getting shut down for whatever it was, 96% of, you know, the suppliers. You know, now those suppliers need people to sell on Amazon. And, you know, I highly doubt that those brands now want to go create a Seller Central account and start selling directly to the consumer through Amazon. So, you know, that's where you can come in. You can go, you know, you can go to them, and now they're probably going to be open to Amazon sellers instead of, oh, we don't, you know, are you an Amazon seller? We hate Amazon sellers. Now it's, oh, you're an Amazon seller. You can bring our stuff to the market, where they were, you know, Vendor Central, which I've actually have a bit of experience with. We've, you know, you open an account, you send them some samples, they do a test sell, and a lot of that stuff you see on Amazon, being sold by Amazon was being sold through the vendor central. So the vendor was like the main brand or manufacturer, and they would send those directly to Amazon, and then Amazon would sell them themselves. You know, and they still had all those troubles where they'd have to return them and all that stuff. So, you know, it was kind of like being a supplier to Amazon, where Amazon would buy from you without you having to, without Amazon coming to you and saying, hey, we'd like to be, you know, a seller for your brand. It was you going to Amazon and saying, hey, we'd like you to sell our brand on your platform. You know, so there's a lot, obviously we all know there's a lot more to Seller Central and being third-party sellers. And I'm sure, you know, these tens or hundreds of thousands of brands are now going to need, you know, experienced Amazon sellers to be taking their products to the market. So if they weren't open to it in the past, because if they said, oh, we're already selling on Amazon, that's probably what was going on. They were using Vendor Central, and now that's been shut out. Unless Amazon was selling tens of millions of dollars a year, they basically kicked you off the platform. So they're only interested in the biggest
of the sellers and not the piggybackers. Okay. All right. There was a person that asked, how do you convince the U.S. manufacturers if you're located outside the U.S.?
You don't. You make them think that you're inside of the U.S. So again, you're not going to be lying to them, but what you should do is you should have a U.S.-based email address. You should have a U.S. File and get a U.S. LLC, and then you can get a sales tax ID, and then you're going to provide your U.S. sales tax ID when you apply. No manufacturer has ever asked me for any proof that I'm a legitimate business, because they know if you have a sales tax ID, you're a legitimate business, and they need to prove that they're not, that they weren't supposed to collect sales tax. That's why they need those sales tax reseller permits. They have them on file. When they get audited by the state or the federal government, they can use those to prove that every person they ever sold to was a reseller.
That was gold. I'm sorry. I just want y'all to know. If you
right. So yeah, I mean, if you're trying to buy, look, the stuff you're selling is never going to go out of the country anyway. You know, if you're in the UK or Canada or wherever you're at, you know, you're not going to buy that stuff from the US. You're not going to buy a toy from the US, send it to wherever you're at, the UK, and then send it back to Amazon. So there's no point in even bringing up the idea that you're not in the US, because if you are, they're going to believe, and they're 100% right for doing so, that you are trying to export their product to a different country. And you're absolutely not trying to do that. All you want to do is buy from a US supplier to sell it on a US platform to US consumers. So, you know, never even bring up, you know, it doesn't matter that you personally are physically located in, you know, England or Pakistan or Russia or Canada. You know, all that matters is you're a US company buying from a US company, selling it to US consumers. So, you know, you don't have to deal with any of that stuff. And when you get paid by Amazon, you know, you should have a US bank account anyway to rebuy the stuff from. But when you take your profits, then you transfer them to your bank. And that's the only thing that's ever going to go out of the country is, you know, your profits. You know, so, you know, you really have to leave the mindset of, you know, I'm not in the US, you know, you're just some guy. Like, I'm the president, I'm the owner of my company, okay? But I'm still an employee of my company. Every company that you own, you still are employed by them. So, you know, all that matters, you know, and it doesn't matter, is that, you know, you may be an employee of this company that's buying from them, you know, that doesn't happen to be in the US, but you don't ever have to tell them that. It doesn't matter what accent you have. People have all kinds of accents in the US, you know, I don't know where you're at, but wherever you are, that's, you know, that's the, you know, that's all that matters. So, you know, they're not even going to question, you know, if you have a British or, you know, Russian or whatever accent you have, you know, they're not going to question, say, hey, I don't think you're in the US. And it doesn't matter, because it's, you know, if they think you're just some guy buying from them, they don't want to sell to you anyway. You know, they're a company selling to other companies that they want them to then sell to consumers. because most manufacturers and even distributors, they never want to sell to the end user. Most websites you go to, they'll have a list. They either have a list of retailers or they'll have a list of online stores to buy from. So they don't even try to sell online. Manufacturers don't want to sell to consumers.
All right. Okay. So you gave us some pretty good tips. So sourcing, like, do you have a preference of getting started? Maybe two or three wholesale sources that you like. You name five.
Wholesale what that I like?
Wholesale suppliers that you like for the newbie, for a person just getting started. They're not requiring you to order 5,000 of an item. Like they are new seller, somewhat friendly.
I don't know. We talked to, hundreds of them a day. I really don't have a,
Okay.
everybody here to go, see these guys, and, those guys would be, completely worthless and there wouldn't be anything to buy from. Here's what, I will tell you how to find, some great brands you can buy from. And this is how I started. This is, what a lot of people teach now that, they've seen the stuff that we do. And that is, it's called reverse wholesale sourcing. And this is what everybody should do. You should not go buy a list of brands, unless you're buying it from me. But you shouldn't go out and buy a list of brands or, a directory. Those people sell like $399 directories of wholesalers. Don't do any of that. What you do is, if you're selling already, take those products that you already sell and go find them. Okay, so, whatever, if you're selling, red Solo cups, okay, you Google Solo, right. You go and you Google Solo cups, and you go, and Solo sells a million different products, but you go there, you go to their website, one of the few things that we do is we look at the About Me page. We look and see if they have something that says retailers, something that says distributors. I actually have a whole team, and that's all they do is go out and find, contact information for brands, because we built, I'm not trying to sell stuff, but we built software, and we have actually gotten 16,000 contact information on 16,000 different brands that are in our own personal database now. So, we have a little bit of experience in this. So what we've done, so what we do is we go out, we check those things, we go to, and most of the time they'll have some kind of wholesale contact information. Even the site map is good. Almost every site has a button that says site map, and they'll have everything on there. And you can kind of search that. If none of that stuff exists, then there's going to be a way to contact them, a customer support button. And you say to them, hey, I'm a retailer. You don't say I have a store, because you don't. You say and I'm in Florida, so say I'm a retailer in Tampa, Florida. This is my zip code, because a lot of them look stuff up by zip codes. Can you give me information on opening a wholesale account? And if you don't if you don't sell directly, please give me your closest distributor's information. And that's it. And, like 99% of the time, they're going to respond to me. Usually they don't have the information, because it's, like somebody in the Philippines or India that's responding to messages, but they send it over to the people who do that. And, then they reach out to you, give them your, give them your email, because it's probably, a web-based form. You're not going to be emailing them. You don't have to give, you don't give them the stuff I told you about. Don't, try to open an account, because that's not the right people to talk to. Okay. But when they respond to you positively, that's the right people to talk to, because they're probably going to send it from that person to the people who do wholesale. And then they're going to say, well, we need all this stuff. And that's when you respond and say, trying to make a purchase order. Here's all the stuff we already talked about. And that's where you try to open your account. And 99% of the time, literally, it works, because, that's the best way to do it. It's not, in the old days, and even as, even now people are teaching it, but, as recent as a couple years ago, you could, just find a list of brands, list of distributors, and start opening accounts, and you did well. But because of all the stuff we've talked about in the last hour, that doesn't work anymore. Too many people are doing that and not following through, not ever buying anything. So what you need to do is find products that are already selling well. You're selling cups, or you're selling food, or you're selling a toy. Well, if you found it at Dollar Tree, or you found it at Walmart, or you're doing retail arbitrage or online arbitrage, now you're ready to, because it can only be scaled so much, now you're ready to make that leap into wholesale. And that's how you do it. Continue to sell the exact same products that were already selling well. And do it by dealing directly with the manufacturer, okay? Don't deal with, 3, 4, 5 middlemen because you bought it at Walmart and they bought it from, a big distributor. They bought, 50 truckloads at a time. Now you can buy it directly from the source, buy it from that manufacturer. And if they say, oh, we don't sell them, but, we don't sell directly to retailers, but, they're going to give you that information, but this is our, here's a list of our authorized distributors. And then you go and open an account with every one of those distributors, and you do you do whatever they tell you to do. And, now you're in selling everything from solo and whatever else, most brands, when you get to those bigger brands, they usually own a lot of brands. Like, Kraft doesn't just make macaroni and cheese,
Right.
they literally own like 100 different brands. So, once you get in with them, you already have an account to buy all of that stuff.
Now, is it an easy, like, to get started? And some of you may already be selling like for specific niches, but you're not really sure. Would you say starting off with like, let's go look at the Amazon bestsellers list and Amazon top 100 and pick a category, and if you're approved in XYZ category, then maybe start looking at some of those products and trying to figure out doing research on who the manufacturer is.
Well, the top 100 and the top 1,000 on Amazon, you're probably not going to be able to.
Okay.
You might be able to get an account, but it's not going to be profitable. Amazon's on most of those listings.
They are on several of them.
Selling, for super cheap prices. We really look at, and again, going back to my own software where we can track all this, I usually look at brands that are selling between 10, have like 10 and 50 products on Amazon. So when we, because, we can look at, for example, in toys, Funko has actually about 4,000 products that have recently been in the top 100,000. And Lego is like the next one behind it with about 3,000. But, if opening an account with Funko is not gonna, solve many problems because, there's just so much competition out there, so many people, including Amazon, selling it. So, we kind of look at the smaller ones. But alternatively, niches are, it's not eBay. On eBay, it's great to have a niche. You can send emails to your customers and, send them back to your stores, and people go to your store and buy, all your, whatever you sell, stamps or car collectibles or whatever it is. But on Amazon, literally nobody goes to your store. They go to Amazon, they search for products, and whoever has the cheapest, or usually whoever's in the buy box, is going to be the one that gets the sale. The only way people go to your storefront, I mean, we have lots of people go to our storefront because, we have a list of customers, that are not necessarily from Amazon, but we email them, sending them to Amazon. But the only way you're going to get, people going to your storefront is, if you have a way to send people to your storefront, because nobody looks at that stuff. I mean, the only people who look at it are your competition to see what you sell.
Okay. All right. You've given away so much great information so far. Why don't we can we take one question and see if anyone has a question before we close out? Because
Sure.
We are almost at our 1 hour, believe it or not, guys. I would definitely go back and watch the replay on this, for sure, because there's a lot of. It was just like talking to Sam Cohen. Like there were golden nuggets sprinkled in there, and I have my notebook right here. So I was like, right, right. One of the tips that we teach, of course, and we talked about it earlier, is like, okay, look what's on the box, and start having the conversations. So go to their website, which is what he said. Go to their website and look around. And sometimes you can figure out who you need to reach out to. So if you
Yeah,
have,
a lot of times they have a form just to apply, to be, a wholesaler right there, whatever you want to call them. So,
okay,
it's, sometimes it's super easy. Sometimes they have no information on it, and you have to send them an email or fill out their, generic.
their contact us box.
And sometimes they won't have any information, and it'll be right on the contact form. There'll be a pull down of like why you want to contact them, and it'll be like open a resale account when they had no other information on there. So, it's there's no rhyme or reason to most of these companies. So, you just got to
Yeah.
kind of get in there and figure it out. But you take 5 or 10 minutes, and you might have a wholesale account now with one of the biggest brands in the world. So definitely worth the time to investigate those.
There you go. And one more product that you'll be able to sell on Amazon or any other platform that you're interested in selling on.
Remember, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. So the harder it is to figure out how to contact these brands, the better off you are, because you're the one who went that extra mile and got that information, and we're figured out how to contact them. And if you can't, just shoot me a message. We'll be happy to help you. I'm sure we can help you figure it out. If you really want something, then nothing should be able to stop you from getting it.
All right. And especially those of you that are in niche down categories, definitely, if you take the time, and others that are maybe selling that niche and they're not doing that, reach out to those manufacturers or suppliers, and see if you can be able to sell their products wholesale. So Debbie wrote in there, she said that Kraft owns the New England Patriots. Good idea to sell their team items. So I know that like most of the like NFL and NBA and all of those and baseball teams, like you have to also have a license to sell some of those. But I'll let Shawn speak to that.
Yeah, I'm not really sure about the restrictions on individual brands, but I don't know. Is Bob Kraft's owner Kraft Cheese? I really don't know. I don't think that's the same person.
It might not be.
All his money, it was as an investor. It's called the Kraft Group. It's like investment bankers and people invest in them, and then they buy stuff. But I really don't I can't say one way or the other if he's like related to Kraft Kraft macaroni and cheese and all that stuff. I mean, he may be, but I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. As far as the research that I've done, like they will have licensed distributors for like NFL, like NBA, and that kind of stuff. So you may also do some research into that, becoming a licensed distributor, and then you'll be able to sell their product. So, and normally, if you're trying to sell those types of things on Amazon in those categories, they're going to ask for something anyway for like the licensed merch stuff. So.
Well, I mean, all you have to do is prove that you are an authorized reseller. So
authorized reseller, that's what it is. Authorized.
So all you have to do is do that by showing an invoice from a distributor, or obviously if you bought directly from the manufacturer. So as soon as you open an account, you're restricted in something, you upload that invoice, they review it, and then you'll have your you'll be ungated in that, and then you can go to Walmart and buy the stuff. Cheaper there. Sometimes it's just worth it to get those legit accounts. Even there's nothing worth selling, even if you lose money doing it. Because then you're wide open to buy anything else. One place that people use that there's never anything worth selling on Amazon. It's a company called Entertainment Earth. They sell, they're licensed for dozens of brands, Star Wars, and you name it. So if you want to sell Star Wars, open an account there. Go and buy 20 of the cheapest Star Wars action figures, and then use that to submit that invoice, and then you can go buy Star Wars at Walmart and Target, for the next 20 years. And,
there you go.
And once you're ungated, you're ungated. It doesn't say you can only buy from this company, and now you have to prove it. It's authorized to sell a brand, and then you're authorized to sell it from anywhere.
Right. I just know we've sold we had somebody on our team that was selling NFL hats with the team names on them, and they, you have to get them from a licensed distributor, and then you have to get the authorized reseller's license to be able to sell those.
Yeah, there's so many bootlegs in the hats.
Oh yeah.
Even like the forces, like Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines. Those are all licensed brands. So you see those veterans on the corner selling them, and people pretending to be veterans, and guys at parades selling that stuff. Usually that's unlicensed. That's like the biggest unlicensed problem that there is because nobody really realizes that that's something you have to license.
Right. Until you get caught, and then you're like, what? I can't sell that? No, you can't. Okay. So it says clarify your resale permit is required from our state. So, the biggest thing for you there, this is my answer, but Shawn can answer. Then you have to reach out to your state comptroller, find out what the requirements are to even get a reseller's permit, because it's going to start a process. So anyway, Shawn, is there anything you want to add to that?
About the reseller's permit, yeah. Every wholesale company, anywhere you're going to buy from for wholesale, that's literally all that they ever want. But they always need that because, as I said, the IRS or state or local, whoever collects taxes for that area, when they audit that company, whether it's a manufacturer or distributor, they're going to want, they need that. They have to prove that they didn't sell that to consumers, that they sold it to other resellers. And that's why they ask you for it, and that's what they're going to have to show. But the thing is, every state kind of has a different name. Like, some are sales tax permits, reseller IDs, resale license. It seems like every state has a different name, but whatever it is, it's your license to collect sales tax. And that's right. You need to open every wholesale account that there is in America is going to want the same thing, but that's literally all that they want. So, but you have to be a business. Like, you can't be like, I'm Jim and I want a resale permit, so it kind of proves that you're a legitimate business as well. So I have, never been asked for, proof that I'm a business, unless you're trying to get like net terms, which is, basically credit from your supplier, which we don't do. We do use credit cards basically for the cash back, but we never get the terms. So even if they're asking for that stuff, I just, if I have to fill it out by hand, which some of them want you to like still fax it, but if we fill it out by hand, we cross that out and we tell them, we're going to pay cash. We're not looking for any terms. And that's usually why they may want like business information. But other than that, we've never been asked for that because they don't care. They just don't want to get in trouble over the tax issue.
All right, and you want to just reach out to your state to find out what it's called in your state, because like you said, it's known by different names in different states. And then the thing about Amazon is, like, when you first start as you're a new seller, until you reach a certain threshold, then when you reach that certain threshold, they want to be interacting with a business. So you haven't reached those numbers, that whole resale thing. You don't need it when you first start.
Yeah, it's actually not. It's not required at all, because you can give them your Social Security number.
Right.
It says that either that number or the Social Security number. It's an FEIN, and this is completely different from the FEIN that you get from the IRS. That's called a federal employer identification number, And that is for the IRS. This is for your local state. And if you choose not to collect sales tax, if you don't go to the sales tax information and enter it for your state, or the whatever is left, 42, 43 different states that collect it, then Amazon don't care, because you're the one on the hook for that. They will collect it for you, and then they give it all to you. So it's completely on you if you don't collect it. But if you're selling millions of dollars a year, didn't collect any taxes, that your state's gonna be a little upset about it when they send file a lawsuit against Amazon and force them to give all their sellers' names out that sold anything in that state, which they have done in a couple states now.
All right. So the biggest thing you need to remember about when you start that process with your state, whatever the requirements are, once you kickstart, I call it kickstarting the engine, you need to make sure you comply with it, whether it's quarterly, monthly, yearly, because if you don't, they're going to estimate earnings and estimate taxes, and they're going to expect money, and you're going to get a demand letter. So make sure that you follow whatever your state guidelines are. Once you apply for it, they're going to kickstart that.
Even if it's zero, that's the only downside of this. Once you get that, you have to, until you tell them that you're not a business anymore, you have to submit, even if it's a zero. And you can do it online. They send you whatever, it looks like a mortgage book or something, and you can send it in the mail. I mean, it's easier to do it online. And once you do start collecting, there's some great, TaxJar is really the best out there. It's like $20 a month, and they'll compute everything and tell you what to put on each line when you file your taxes. So it's not as complicated as most people think. And it's most important, if you're not selling on Amazon yet, just to get started. Don't wait till you get a tax ID. Don't wait till you get your whatever, file an LLC. You can sign up with your social security number, and every 24 hours you can change that information. So if you're a business today and you get a partner, you don't need a new account. You just can go in there, change the information. As soon as it's processed, you can go in there and change it again. It usually takes about 24 hours. So if you're filed right now under your regular social security number, you go in and change it. The only thing that'll happen at the end of the year, if you collected enough money, you'll get, 2 tax forms. You'll get one for, the business information and one for your personal information. But it's always more important, it's always better to, be done than, to be perfect. So just get out and, start selling. That's the most important part.
Yep. Get started. And you can start reaching out to wholesale suppliers. So, Shawn, thank you so much for taking the time. I truly appreciate you. I appreciate all the value that you gave on the Q&A and all the value that you gave today. I hope that all of you took notes, because I had to go get my notebook. And I hope that you've all enjoyed the eCom Seller Summit. So, Shawn, thank you so much.
Awesome. Good night.
Bye.